Let's welcome in Dianna Russini from The Athletic. She's covered the NFL for nearly a decade. Dianna, big week for you. You're all over this Russell Wilson stuff. Pittsburgh mutual interest. Let's start there. Russell Wilson now on his way to Pittsburgh with Tomlin. I'm lukewarm on that fit, but you seem to like it.
Yeah, hi, guys. Thanks for having me on. Yeah, it is the start of really the craziest time of year on the calendar because it's a lot of chatter, a lot of rumors, lots of lies. So it's kind of up to us to try to sort through what's really going down. And the truth is Russell Wilson is in Pittsburgh already. And he's going to be meeting with the Steelers at their facility later this afternoon, actually, to sit with Mike Tomlin, sit with people from the front office to just kind of get an understanding of what this could look like. Arthur Smith, the former Falcons head coach, obviously is the offensive coordinator there now. And when you look at the quarterback spot in Pittsburgh, you know, you've got Mason Rudolph as someone that has been there that has really just been, you know, up and down for them. But at times he's had some success. But when you look at what Russell Wilson will cost a team like the Pittsburgh Steelers, not a lot of money, right? He's going to be on that minimum deal there to kind of, I guess, stick it to Denver, but he's not going to cost them a lot of money. So we'll see if both sides agree that the vision is all on the same page. And, you know, Russell Wilson also met with the New York Giants yesterday. So I think right now he's just trying to get in front of a lot of different GMs and head coaches to try to get an idea if, you know, this is a place that he can come in and start, right? Because Russell Wilson doesn't want to be a backup. So we'll see if these are places that he can step in and maybe not even start in New York, obviously, because they've got Daniel Jones, but at least try to compete to get the starting spot.
You know, when people are being recruited, usually the teams come to them. Should we take it as a sign that Russ maybe isn't the belle of the ball? That's Kirk Cousins, who we'll get to in a second. And Russ is kind of pitching himself to teams?
Look, I look at this. Sean Payton is one of the best offensive minds in football. The time I've covered it, he's probably a top 2, top 3 best offensive mind. And he struggled with Russell Wilson. And there's a lot to blame there from both sides. But if Sean Payton can't get the most out of him, it makes you kind of question some things of, all right, well, where is Russell at in his career right now? And is there enough that an organization believes is there for them to maybe try and give a shot at him? So look, I don't think teams are pounding on Russell Wilson's door right now going, come here, but he still has some left in the tank. And for a team like Pittsburgh, who doesn't seem to be interested in spending a lot of money at that quarterback position right now, right? Because you've got Kirk Cousins, who's out there, who you know, we'll see what happens there with Minnesota, if they're going to able to come to an agreement to keep him there, or if he's going to hit free agency. And from everything I gather, it doesn't appear that Pittsburgh is in on Kirk. So that just tells you the kind of money they're looking to spend on a quarterback, and it's not a lot.
So everybody's doing their predictions, Dianna, for where people will land. People are throwing darts. Even some of the gambling odds look insane. I'll say this. Kirk Cousins is the biggest mystery to me. Does he stay in Minnesota? Does he go to Atlanta? But most importantly, Dianna, what are you hearing on his asking price? Because when I see Tua, maybe 50 mil, Dak Prescott, like 55 to 60 mil, that's insane. And then you look at Kirk Cousins, like coming off the Achilles. Is he 40? Is he 45? Does he wait to see what Baker gets and say, I want more than Baker, I'm a better quarter? Like, how does that work?
Well, Kirk is pretty much determining his market right now because he obviously has the history to prove that he can play at a really high level. But yeah, you're right. You have to consider that 35-year-old coming off an Achilles injury, right? Teams aren't going to be able to run medical on him to, you know, they're going to probably sign him before he can even get in the building. So that is a really big risk when you don't know what your team doctor is going to find. And you got to hope, based on some of the videos he's posting and just some of the chatter, that he's going to be okay. But I think for Kirk, Jay, it's more about the structure of the deal. I don't think this is so much about him trying to get some high number. I do think he'll get probably around that $40 million number a year. But it's about Kirk being the guy with his team. It's making sure that an organization is committed to him being there, not just for one season, but perhaps for 2 and 3. So I think that's going to be really the part of this deal that's going to determine where he goes. And the question remains, is Minnesota willing to do that, right? Because they've committed almost $200 million to Kirk Cousins. and they don't have a Super Bowl ring, right? And that's what they want. So you have to figure it's probably really hard for the Vikings owners to sit there and go, yeah, let's do this again. Let's go for another 40 APY for the next 3 years guaranteed, or the next 2 years. That's tough, right? But we also know how good this team can be and how much Kevin O'Connell really likes working with Kirk Cousins and how he is used in this offense. So you have a team like Atlanta. They're built to win. They've got the defense. They have the O-line. They've got the weapons. Maybe they're going to be adding some more weapons too in this free agency. We'll see if that's enticing enough with a good structure, with a good contract. If Kirk is willing to say, you know what, I love Minnesota, but I'm going to take my services to ATL, and doesn't hurt his wife Julie's from there too.
How much stock should we put in Zach Robinson? Comes from the Rams. We know historically McVay and Shanahan have been enamored with Kirk Cousins and his play action ability. How much stock should we put in Zach Robinson, who I believe, I Googled this, I don't think he's ever called plays before in a regular season game?
He hasn't called any. Yeah, he hasn't called any plays, which, we have this discussion all the time, right? Like, how much does that really matter? Yeah. Does it matter? Some people say yes. Some people say no. You have to figure Minnesota's probably pitching to Kirk, stay here. You know who's calling plays. His name's Kevin O'Connell. He's really good at it. You're comfortable with him. But Zach Robinson has a really good reputation around the league. And yeah, you're right. He's from that McVay tree. And I always joke, it's like the Kirk Cousins mob, right? These guys love Kirk Cousins. But I think really the point of it is that Zach Robinson speaks the language that Kirk knows and is comfortable with. So he could step into this. And with Raheem Morris having that comfort with Kirk Cousins from their time in Washington, there's a relationship there. And I don't think it's going to be a really big step for Kirk Cousins to go to Atlanta here and figure out a way to be part of this offense. And it may be something he'd be open to. So I do think the Zach Robinson part of it, the fact that he comes from the Sean McVay tree, just helps Atlanta's cause once this tampering window opens up and they can really full court press this thing.
Let's go to Baker Mayfield, Dianna. Everybody seems to predict he's going to stay in Tampa, but, you heard somebody, I think Daniel Jeremiah floated the Patriots recently. Money always a factor. I think you said 40 maybe for Kirk Cousins. Does Baker Mayfield see that and say, hey, I got my team to the playoffs last year. We weren't supposed to be there. We were supposed to be terrible, a bottom feeder. I want 45, and Tampa's like, whoa, that's a little too rich for our blood. I don't know. Salary cap going up. What do you think Baker gets from Tampa?
Yeah, I think if Baker Mayfield says 45 to Tampa, they say, okay, Kyle Trask, here's the football, go. They're not paying that. As good as Baker has been for them, and as much as I know they love Baker, from the coaching staff to the locker room, I mean, we saw everything he did last year. It was such a great fit. They, of course, just re-signed Mike Evans, so they have a weapon there that Baker wants and has success playing with. But in terms of the money, I don't get the sense that Baker's asking for some wild Daniel Jones type contract type number. I think he's looking for sort of just a fair market price for him. And look, this is a guy who's making $4 million last year. So in my opinion, anything more than 30 for Baker coming out of this is a huge win. But I'm not sure if Tampa is willing to really go anything above that 33, 34, $35 million range for Baker. And, you always have a little bit of that Florida, no tax element as part of these negotiations. Teams try to keep those numbers down by using that because, the players are going to make more money in that way. And that's great for them, but they don't have to deal with the taxes. So I still think Tampa is going to figure this out. But I will tell you, there are teams waiting to see, and they are watching closely. And Minnesota is one of them. If they don't think that they're going to be able to land Kirk, I expect them to go after Baker right after this.
Okay, so wait, you said Tampa 33 to 35. But like Daniel Jones got, I think, 40. We all agree it was a terrible contract. But like Baker, I mean, if I'm in his camp, I'm like, bro, Daniel Jones he's the worst quarterback than you. How does he get 40? They need to pay up. Like, I don't know. Let's say Tampa says we're holding firm at 30, 33, 35, and Baker walks away. What do the Vikings do? Would the Vikings go to 40?
I think the Vikings would be willing to give him a good contract. I do. I think that, first of all, you sound like Bill Parcells when you talk about the market, right? Because he's like known for going, the market dictates the price, right?
Yeah.
Like, don't get mad at Baker Mayfield for asking for a Daniel Jones contract, because the reality is that's what he is. Now, that being said, there was a horrible deal by the Giants, and I'm sure Joe Shane hates it and would love to redo it, but they were in a position where at the time they felt they needed to do it. So it makes sense for Baker's people to say, hey, this is the starting number, but his representation is they're just like very logical agents. I don't find them to be just these over the top nut jobs that are trying to just crush teams. I think they're going to try to just get the best value for Baker, but in a fair way. So look, it would shock me if Baker winds up landing at $40 million. Could he? Maybe. I don't think it's going to get that high. I think that number for Baker really just sits between 30 and 35, and we'll see if Tampa's going to be willing to go up and get him.
All right, two quick ones. Justin Fields, it sounds like if you're playing musical chairs with the quarterbacks, Fields could be the odd guy out. I've been saying Seattle. We don't know what the new regime thinks of Geno Smith. I think everybody else thinks Geno Smith is pedestrian. I would roll the dice with Fields. Is that me? What are you hearing on Justin Fields here?
Yeah, his market isn't robust right now because it has everything to do with what we just discussed, really, this quarterback market and the domino effect and where Justin falls, right? And you have to look at it as tiers, right? So it's very rare in free agency. You have quarterbacks of the caliber of Kirk Cousins and Baker Mayfield available, right? So this has affected the Justin Fields market because teams are going to want to go for Baker and Kirk before they want to go for Justin Fields. So let's say the team, and there's only 8 teams right now that need starters. All right. So let's say 2 of them get the 2 quarterbacks, right? So that leaves you 6 left. And some of these teams would prefer a guy like Sam Darnold, Jacoby Brissett, Gardner Minshew, sort of these bridge quarterbacks types that could step in and start week 1. They may not finish the year as the starter, but they understand, they know what they're going to get. I still think there's just a lot of question marks about Justin Fields outside of Chicago. You talk to Chicago, and there are a lot of people there that still want Justin Fields there.
Yeah.
There are people there that think that they should stick with Justin over going for Caleb Williams, which sounds crazy, but that's the attachment some people do have and belief in Justin Fields. Yeah. But I can just speak for the teams I've talked to outside of Chicago. I think we're going to see a second wave of quarterbacks come through, and I think that's where we'll see some movement for Justin Fields. And, teams are going to have to give up some picks for him. And I just don't know if they're willing to do that, knowing that there's these bridge quarterbacks available.
All right, we can wrap up with, is Fields have any interest from the Raiders who have his OC? And if not Fields, what are the Raiders doing? Because it ain't Aiden O'Connell.
I think they have a plan. In fact, I think their plan is set. I think they have a quarterback that they're going to be going after. One of these bridge quarterbacks that we're talking about to come in here and step and run this offense. I don't believe they're in the Justin Fields market. And you're right. Like with his former offensive coordinator there, sometimes that's a good thing and sometimes it's a bad, right? Because they know everything about you. But I would be very surprised if I saw Las Vegas hop in this Justin Fields market.
Can I have 2 guesses at the bridge quarterback?
Sure.
Since you don't have to say it because clearly you have some intel here. Is it Sam Darnold?
No. Oh, I shouldn't say that. Yes. No. What's the right answer? What should I say?
All right. The other guy I was going to guess was Jacoby Brissett. It's like the Teddy Bridgewater kind of type quarterback, right? The bridge.
Here's the thing with Jacoby though, right? He's a bit of a chameleon in terms of like, he can really run in any offense. He can do anything. He kind of speaks the language of all the different offenses because he's been on so many darn teams. So there's value in that. Yeah. So we'll see. I know he has a nice market right now. So I think Jacoby Brissett he's going to continue.
Imagine that. Dianna, just like great stuff, obviously, but like Jacoby Brissett has a nice market and Justin Fields has nothing. Like that NFL strains. We have to admit, Dianna Russini from The Athletic, great stuff. Keep crushing it and enjoy the weekend.
All right, thanks guys. Thanks for having me on. I appreciate it.
Hi everybody, it's me, Uncle Colin. Subscribe here to get the latest from the herd, including exclusive behind-the-scenes videos and more, wherever you may be, however you may be watching. Thanks again for making us part of your day.